Welcome to the Manifestation Lab. This is your host, Kelly Howe. From the grounded science to the mystical and unseen, we're investigating this big experiment we call life and finding what really works when it comes to manifesting a life that sets your heart and your soul on fire. Welcome to the lab. Hey friends, welcome back to the Manifestation Lab. Today I have Kristen Brown back on the show. She was our very first episode. Kristen is a dear friend of mine. She's been a long-term client for many, many years. I think maybe going all the way back to possibly 2016. It's been a long time. I have been able to walk alongside Kristen as she has grown her business and done incredible things. She inspires me daily. And Kristen and I have teamed up with two other women, with Jessie Bodine, owner and founder of Scout and Nimble, and also Liz Tucker, owner of Poppy and Marigold. The four of us have decided to collaborate and host a retreat in Akumal, Mexico. Today I'm talking to Kristen. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of what the retreat will be like, who this retreat is for, and the biggest and most important thing, what you're going to take away when you walk away from this retreat. I think it is something that is really, really special. I believe it to be very unique. I've never actually been to a retreat quite like this, and I think it's going to be the perfect combination of personal development, spiritual development, business strategy, and just resetting and nourishing our bodies and our mind, and hopefully walking away really motivated and ready to up-level our business, maybe carve out some more self-care and, just get back to it. So here's Kristen Brown and myself, and we are talking all about the Wild Expansion Retreat in Akumal, Mexico in September. So sit back and enjoy. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM myself or Kristen on Instagram. You can find her, she says it in the episode. I'm going to mess it up again, so I'm not going to say it right now, but it is Kristen Brown. She's the owner and founder of Hoot Design Company, and you can find me at Kelly Howe Coaching on Instagram. We would love to hear from you if you have questions, if you're interested. She also drops the link in the episode, so you'll want to listen for that. All right, enjoy, and I hope to see you in Mexico. There's only a handful of spots left, and maybe this one's for you. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
You were actually episode number 1.
Oh my gosh.
Of the Manifestation Lab.
What an honor.
A year ago.
Thank you.
Well, I recorded a batch of them, and then I didn't, had to very carefully figure out who I was going to put first, but you were top of the list. Sis.
Okay.
So, yes.
Thank
so welcome
you.
back. Well, it's fun to be back together. You and I always have a good time chatting about, God knows everything. But we have this upcoming retreat, the Wild Expansion Retreat. I know we're both super excited about it. And we just wanted to get together and talk about what it is and why we're doing this and what you get from it. And I don't know, I just think that we have put together this really cool thing, and it's going to be fun to chat about it. So the first thing I want to ask you is, why were you called towards putting something like this together?
Yeah, I definitely felt compelled to do this after having so much, I would say transformation and so much growth from a mastermind group, which for me is just 3 other women who are involved in this retreat, but 3 other women who I've been meeting with for years, 7 years, 8 years, to kind of help each other and create this board of directors, what's now become just really close friends as well. But people who can share your experience and really help guide, decision-making in a way that really no one else can understand. Or I often say, what your partner should be expected to do.
What do you think, what was your state of mind when you guys put that mastermind together? What were you struggling with, and what was it that pulled that together for you?
Yeah, I think that's such a good question. One, we had heard about this group in St. Louis that was doing masterminds for people where you were paying to be a member. So that kind of got the idea going for us. And then we really thought I'm so sorry. Doesn't seem to be any reason we can't kind of facilitate this ourselves. I think what was cool about that at the time was we weren't all good friends then. Beth and I had known each other kind of socially outside of work, but then we really didn't know the other two people well at all. So that was really cool that we kind of all got to know each other at the same time was cool. And then what we started out doing was meeting every other week for 2 hours, and we would say an ask and a give. So everyone was supposed to bring prepared something that they wanted to share that we thought would be beneficial, and then what do we need help with. And at the time we tried to stay very structured too, like not taking up too much time, but it was just hugely beneficial. So I think for me, I was struggling with just like a ton of stuff at that time. I was really struggling with like, do I want to keep doing this? So like pretty huge questions. And I think, you know, as you go, it's just like, you know, nothing can really, I think, measure up to that level of time investment in each other. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about working with you too, Kelly, because we've been working together for the same amount of time. I mean, so Jessie in the mastermind group was the person that told me to go see you. So, I mean, that's kind of, I think the way they impact you is just really, honestly, cannot be explained on the level of like relationship you have after that long.
It's neat that you guys didn't know each other as friends going in. So there wasn't that like weird kind of like, I don't know, outside feeling that sometimes you can get when there's like a group of 3 or 4 friends, but 2 people have known each other for a long time. It's so neat that you guys really kind of like came together at the same time. And so of course we're talking about Jessie Bodine, the founder of Scout and Nimble. And Jessie and I actually work together as nurses. So I've been trying to get her on the podcast so we can talk about that, because it's funny that we're so like, you know, obviously so far from that world now, but we met working as nurses. And then when I started doing tapping and doing like group workshops and stuff, she came to just this little workshop that I did at someone's house. And she came up to me afterwards and she was like, okay, first of all, great to see you. Second of all, I need what you're doing. And she just, you know, she was like, I need that. And then she didn't seem scared away by how bizarre it is.
And that was very meaningful to me too, because Jessie, I don't consider Jessie really highly woo-woo out there. And so then when she said that she was like getting a lot out of it.
This tapping thing, this weird tapping thing.
I was super intrigued.
And then she connected us up and a bunch of other people. But, you know, what I remember about that time period, and hopefully this isn't like, like too specific, because, you know, being a client, I have to be careful what I share. But no,
I'm happy to share it.
And we can always cut this out if it's too much.
I'm happy to. There would be nothing that
I can't imagine there would. But what I remember is there, you know, like with so many business owners, there's that sense of loneliness that feels like you're just doing it on your own. Of course, you know, I am a solopreneur, so I am doing it on my own, and that gets super lonely sometimes. But that feeling of like, it's lonely at the top, or just like, you know, the other people in my business or my life don't really understand what it's like to run a business. And so that's kind of what I remember when you guys pulled together, just being like a common theme that just, not just with you all, not that I work with you guys, all of you, but like, it just felt like at the time with business owners that I was working with in general, it just felt like such a big theme. And the reason I wanted to kind of spotlight that is because I think that is one of the reasons that it's so important to invest in something like a retreat. Like a business retreat, to recognize that, like, I'm going to talk to other people that are business owners in all different faculties and different types of businesses, and I'm not alone, right? So like, I'm not alone in my struggles. Other people are working through these things too. Maybe it's not exactly the same, but like to create that kind of support and camaraderie and hold space. I think we talked about that before, hold space for each other in our struggles. And, you know, I really think that fresh air and sunshine and getting into nature is a huge part of like getting connected back up with like the universe and your creativity. But then of course being around another, you know, a tribe of really strong, powerful women and being vulnerable with each other and supporting each other is just, I think, kind of an intangible that you can't get like just in everyday life. So I think that's something, anytime I've gone to a conference, or, you know, I've never been to a retreat like this. So I think it's really, really kind of unique what we've put together. But anytime I've been, it's like I leave with connections, a lot of them that I've had for years and years, just because how would I have met that person other than this retreat or this conference? And I always leave with like crystal clear clarity and a ton of motivation to like dive into the next level of my business.
Yes.
You know?
Which I think that's exactly what people would be getting out of it as well. It's like that shared experience, that kind of like enlightenment of being around a bunch of people who are experiencing the same thing you are, or like trying to take your business to the next level, whether you're just starting out or you've been doing it for 6 years, I think is like, this can be really transformational, something like this.
Oh, I think so too. And there will be people in different levels of their business. And I think there's something really special about that too, to be able to say to someone, I've been where you are and you can get through this.
Yeah.
Right. And to be able to like bounce ideas off of people who have been where you are and are where you want to go, I think is really great. And anytime I'm around you and Jesse and Liz and Beth, the times I've been around her, it's like I get so much just from like very short little conversations with you guys about what is possible for me.
Right.
I feel like there's something so inspiring about being around other women doing these amazing things.
I totally agree. And then I really think too, like when I think about times where I've really invested the amount of time and space needed to make big decisions or take your business to the next level, I think that's really another huge impact that something like this can have on you.
I totally agree.
It's so hard to invest in yourself. Like as I think often too, women, we feel like we shouldn't do this for ourselves or only ourselves. Like I used to have this thought of like, well, I can't do this just for me. I need to like have a vacation, do something like this where my whole family's involved or at least my partner. Whereas I think when you are able to do this for yourself and your business, like the ripple effect for your family, your business, your partner are huge.
Right.
And specifically this place in the world, Akumal, Mexico is a place that my family started going in 2015 after Tulum kind of got like really blown up and expensive. And so we were like, oh my God, we can't afford to go back there.
Were you guys going there first and then switched to Akumal? Okay.
Yeah, we had gone there first. And not that it was undiscovered by any means in like 13. I think we went there in 11. And it was incredible. And certainly it, had already started growing. But I think now it's kind of like bonkers how expensive it is. And so we just started looking in that area. And this place is just the coolest. And I am so excited to share it with other people too, because I feel like it's such a hidden gem.
I can't believe you're giving your gem away.
Yeah, I know. Only to 15
The secret
people.
is out. The secret is out. No, you have talked to me about Akumal for years.
Yes.
And I always see you when you come home from this vacation and, you're always like perfectly recharged and reset. And
I feel like it's such a special place in the universe. And this home that we're going to, so I've only been to this home one other time, but I think that was like a magical experience, just having like an entire home. So you're not in a resort environment. Even just that alone, like finding, going to this special place and having this curated experience for you, I think would be reason enough to sign on. Aside from being able to share really great content, like I know you plan to do, we're planning to work with like a breath work specialist yogi there who I've worked with before, who I think is also really magical herself. There's a private chef, which I've had that experience only one other time, and it was crazy cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah, to just have like a beautiful dinner, like kind of the thing that you would probably be responsible for in a vacation environment. Like often, I'm not a good cook or anything, but I am usually the person thinking like, do we have food?
Right.
Are we going to eat together?
Can I feed all these children?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I feed these people? And how long is it going to take?
Right. And just to have that all taken care of for you, no cleanup, no setup. Like I did just feel like, a celebrity.
I love that.
There. Yeah.
I honestly can't wait. That aspect of it alone. I'm like, why have I never gotten a personal chef? Like we eat out and it costs $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
This makes so much sense. And
like such an intimate environment, and it's so private. So like, I feel like for example, we would do yoga with this woman in the morning, and she has a very special gift, I think, and people would be crying. Well, you're not crying in like a public yoga class. You're getting to cry in the privacy of this home and stuff. So I feel like that is super cool. There's this lagoon that you're on, which is like, so a very beautiful part of the ocean where you can actually swim. So, there's not like dangerous waves or anything. And I feel like that's really cool.
And little kayaks, right?
Yeah, paddle boards and kayaks and snorkel equipment. It's just very, very special. So I think if we can like honor the challenge of like what it's like to be a mom or not a mom, but to own a business and to really like have trouble carving out this time and space for ourselves, I think that is so worth the investment.
I totally agree. And so many people, like for anybody listening that is struggling with that, like I really want to go, but I feel guilty, I feel selfish, all of that. I say, yes, it is selfish. And I call it sacred selfishness. Like, I think every person on the planet has a responsibility to carve out sacred selfishness so that we can listen to our inner guidance and take action in an aligned way with like what our soul actually wants us to do. And if we can't have sacred selfishness and like create time to ourselves and create boundaries around that time, then we can get lost in the mix. And I think so many people just feel so like they're in the rat race and on the hamster wheel. And it takes that sacred selfishness to say, I've got to stop. And like you said, the ripple effect of that is just something that can't be put into words. You know, if we're running ourselves into the ground and working ourselves to the bone and doing and giving to everyone else, but never stopping to like take the time for ourselves, our business 100% will suffer, even if we're like working so hard, right? And it'll never up level because we don't have time to get into that creative space to be like, what is the next level, right? Like, what could I manifest? What could I create? So,
and I think that like getting that time and space for yourself is just really, really hard. I remember I went there for 10 days in 18, like at the end of the year. And my kids, you know, I didn't have my youngest kid then. It was like this really great time where my kids were kind of independent. So I was able to like I think I read 4 books and I really came up with this like entire vision forward for what I wanted the business to look and feel like and how should we be presenting ourselves to the world and stuff. And I just don't think that would have been possible without carving out this really like sacred selfishness, like you're saying. And I think that, you know, when we don't do that, you turn around and you're like, you know, where did the last 6 months, 18 months go? Yeah. And then without a vision for the future, I think that's how that happens. You just you're not able to like claim that intentionally. I think it just, you know, it passes you by.
It does. And I mean, it usually takes that space also to recognize how much we've been missing.
Yeah.
How much has just been flying by, like our kids growing up and the great things that are happening in our business that we're completely blowing by because it's like we're just in the hamster wheel. So yeah, so for people struggling with that, I mean, it is real. There's so much programming behind, especially for women, right? I think it's a little bit easier for men to like sort of say, I need this time, at least culturally. But as mothers and as, you know, sisters and just as women in different women related relationships, it's culturally embedded in us to just put ourselves on the back burner.
Yes.
And so we have to work against that programming and recognize that like that's how it's been done for a really long time, but it's not necessarily working right here, right now in this era, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the women right now out there, when they hear that, are like, yeah, like we all know that first, like right now is the time that things are massively shifting for women and in our empowerment and balancing out the matriarchy and the patriarchy and like, you know, finding this new kind of way of being. And that does take saying, I'm worth the time and I do deserve it. And I'm not trying to sound like a commercial. I think I am.
But I think that's so true.
It's obviously what I'm really, really passionate about too. You know, it's what I do for people.
Right. I love this like quote from that book, Burnout. I know we've talked about this before, like how women are conditioned to be human givers.
Yeah.
And you know, men are conditioned through society to be human beings. And I think that's like so beautifully said. And like, this is a time for you to kind of like reclaim that beingness, you know, to just be and like maybe let what happens, you know, here where you're not really going in with an agenda or, you know, it's really just to carve out time for yourself to be. And I think that's like super hard.
Amazing. Yeah. And that actually brings me to another thought that I had before our conversation that I jotted down. And that is that it's really vulnerable to go into because we haven't even talked about it, but this is a really tiny retreat, right?
Yes.
So there's only like
15 people.
15 people total, right? So, and a big portion of that, 4 of us are going to be facilitators,
right?
The hosts. So 10, 11 people together under one roof, and it is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I know, I mean,
like intimate.
Yeah. And it's, you don't know how that's going to work out. Am I going to like everybody? Am I not going to? Am I going to feel like an outsider? Am I going to really connect? Am I going to say something stupid? Like, all those thoughts are really normal, but our biggest growth comes in the discomfort. And I hate that that's true. But when we can push ourselves and say, yeah, I'm going to get a little bit uncomfortable so that I can grow. I think people usually can settle in and be like, wow, that discomfort was like totally for my highest good.
Oh, yeah.
And that does, I mean, I'm not advocating for that like across the board, but in a business setting, in a personal growth setting, it's absolutely true that like, okay, yeah, the discomfort's real. And if you think about like, am I going to know anybody there?
Right.
And what's this going to be like? And what exactly is the content? Part of the transformation is the uncertainty and working through that. And
right. And I think it would be a very safe place to be uncomfortable.
Totally.
And maybe even say, like, I feel uncomfortable.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's so true. Maybe it would be helpful, too, if we talked a little bit about, like, what will a day look like?
Yeah.
And in kind of more of the logistics. Because I know I would be thinking that. What does a day look like? I think we want there to be plenty of time. You know, like you said, there's only 15 people there. Very intimate environment, but we want there to be plenty of time to explore and do what you're called to do, you know, whether it's read or lay out or swim or, you know, whatever, be on your computer if that's what you're there for. Right.
So although I feel like we might need to put some rules around that.
Yeah. We don't want you working.
Right. You can't work the whole time.
If you're I think we want people to feel like this is what they want it to be. Knowing that we have sessions with you daily, which I think will be so cool. And you plan to focus a lot of your stuff on, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yes. So I'm going to talk a lot about wealth consciousness and the rewiring it takes to break through our very programmed limitations. Every business owner at any stage has an income ceiling. And if we're wanting to learn and grow, we need to get comfortable with saying, I want to break through that income ceiling. But one of the things that people don't realize is that it is really deeply embedded into our nervous system, meaning that even just talking about, like, some people even listening to this will be like, oh my God, we're going to work on money. Like, oh, that feels gross. And they'll feel a very visceral, like, ickiness with that. And we can rewire that with tapping. So, and people also don't recognize that money is just, they recognize that money is just a part of everyday life, whether we like it or not. And when we can work through our limitations around it, our misconceptions around it, the ways that we view it as good or bad, it's really a deeply spiritual journey as well. And it's a place where I think, especially the people that come to me, really are working on their business in, I would say, a deeply spiritual way, where they're trying to find that balance between mind, body, and spirit, and not just be like all money or all giving, or, we're just really trying to find that balance. And where does my family fit into this? And how can I make it all work together? And I always say that your business is your spiritual baby, and it is something that, like, you gave it birth and you had that creativity come to life and you continue to nurture it. And if you don't treat it like that, and money's part of that. If you don't treat it like that, then it will starve.
Right.
Or it won't grow. It'll just have stunted growth. And
I remember you saying money is just an exchange of energy.
It is just an exchange of energy.
Really helped me.
Yeah. So we're going to do a lot of work on belief systems around wealth consciousness and what that looks like, and really the physical nervous system wiring around that to get people more excited, more motivated, and ready to, like, take the strategy that they're also going to get at the retreat and put that into action so that they can break through. And I know we've done a ton of work with that. I love working with money stuff. It's interesting how some people are like, hell yeah, like, let's work on that. And some people are really reluctant and they feel like it's not it just feels icky.
Right.
It just feels kind of icky to say like, yes, I want to earn more. Yes, I want to make more money. Like it makes people want to throw up a lot of times.
Right.
Which is telling, right?
Definitely.
There's fear underneath it. There's belief systems. There's old wounding.
Right.
Trauma
Value
behind
systems.
It. Value systems, yes.
I think breaking down a lot of the stuff you learned as a kid, whether through actual teaching or even just, society or like the kind of tribe you grew up in, I think that has such an impact on it. So yeah, I mean, that would be an
scarcity
incredible
mindset. And, even for people that are very, very good at making money, doing these exercises can help them recognize where maybe it's easy for them to make money, but they're striving. They're always trying to prove something because of their tribe of origin.
Right.
And they're still trying to prove their worth in certain ways. And so there's all kinds of insights that we can get about where we're lacking self-love, where we're lacking self-worth, where we can reclaim our power and really just look at money as an exchange of energy. And one of the most beautiful, like, easy ways to do that is, for example, when you go to the grocery store and you are exchanging this energy, like, I'm taking these groceries with me, I'm taking this energy with me, and you pass the money over and say, thank you for doing this, right? Like, thank you for offering this service. And it just makes everything feel so much easier.
Yeah.
It's just so much lighter when you look at it that way. And if you think of people paying you for your services, that they're saying, thank you for your expertise. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for putting yourself out there. It's so much easier to receive.
Definitely. I think it's so cool to think about tackling that as a group, like no matter where you are in that journey.
Yeah. And everybody will be different. And that's one of the things that will be fun to kind of like talk through in our experience and recognize like, oh, wow, we all came from vastly different backgrounds, but look at how we have similar programming.
Right.
And how it's showing up in similar ways or in different ways. So it's fun. It's one of my favorite areas to work on. It's really great to do in small groups like this. And it really helps people kind of own their confidence around saying, yeah, I want to earn more.
Yeah.
And I deserve that. And,
it made a huge difference for me working with you on this. I can't imagine.
That's good.
And then another thing we're going to be doing is this work with Sophia, is her name, is the breathwork yogi. And the sessions I've had with her have just been like super interesting.
I'm excited to meet her.
Yeah. Like have a real spiritual side to them. It feels like you're doing a lot more than just like, typical yoga. So I know that will be a really cool aspect too. And then as well as kind of just like content that we're going to be developing as the 4 hosts or the 3 other hosts aside from you, Kelly. But then I think there'll just be so much sharing too of, with each other. I think there's so much to learn from each other. Another group I'm in, I really love the way they approach this. You only speak to your experience. Like we haven't even talked about this as a group, but I think this would be a really cool thing to implement is like, when someone does have an ask, like a challenge that they're dealing with, you only speak with I statements. And I think that's been a really cool thing that I've learned from it's another female group that I'm a part of, where I think that often that can feel weird because you're not trying to make it about you. But I actually think that what they frame it as is it's the power of storytelling that actually like unlocks kind of a different energy.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
And if I was like, you should do this.
Right.
That can feel really like, okay, I just said something for 3 minutes and now you're giving me advice, especially when you don't know people super well. I think that can feel like really awkward. Or maybe someone becomes more like domineering. It really takes that away.
And kind of brings it back to a personal vulnerability too. Like when I experienced this is how I worked through it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. To make it really well, I've never experienced this, but I experienced something that, so I feel like it's been a really cool way.
That.
And they're very sensitive about that. Like, they have kind of a moderator who will step in and stop someone from
that's cool
offering advice, which I do think is really, really neat. I think we'll try to make some of those sharing sessions kind of structured so that they don't, it shouldn't feel like a gab session or where someone is kind of allowed to dominate. I think we should, there will be some kind of like guardrails.
Yeah.
I think that's our responsibility.
I love that idea
to provide.
Yeah. And I mean, this house is huge.
Yes.
It is.
You can see it on the web.
Huge. Yeah, you can go to the webpage and check it out. Actually, do you want to give them that?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
website?
I can give you the webpage is hootdesigncompany.com/wild-expansion-retreat. But clearly you could reach out to me and Kelly as well if you need a direct link.
I'll put that in the show notes too.
Perfect. Yeah. We'll be linking that all over our social media as well to help drive people there. You can get a real sense of the home. What some of that like fresh food
it's
looks
luxurious.
like. Yeah,
it really
I feel
is.
like you feel like a Kardashian. Is what I kept saying. Like you definitely feel like a famous person.
And with that, there's, I haven't been there. I know you have, but it looks like there are so many little nooks and crannies.
Yes,
to tuck
privacy.
yourself away for privacy. So it's not like if you need privacy, you need to go hide in your room. Like there are little patios and little seating areas everywhere. Like absolutely everywhere.
So much. And so I went there. I can kind of speak to my experience before. I went there in January with 3 other couples. And I mean, that can be a challenging experience, and I found it to be, there was just more than enough room for privacy. There's 2 different pools. Then the ocean is right there.
2 pools.
Yeah, 2 separate pools.
2 pools.
Yeah, and a hot tub.
Oh my gosh.
There's like a rooftop, this huge rooftop patio. There's like a stargazing area up at the top. I mean, it is really the most incredible.
It's gorgeous.
Home. It feels like a super special find and to be able to like share it with other people, I think is really something I'm like super excited about. So I can't imagine anyone feeling like claustrophobic in this home.
Right. And even if, there are some people that will be sharing a room, there's so many, like I said, you don't have to work to find a space by yourself. Like even if you decide to share a room with someone.
And it's part of a really cool little village too. So you can Google Akumal in Mexico, which is about 30 kilometers north of Tulum. Takes about an hour to an hour and a half to get there from Cancun. So you'd fly into the Cancun airport. We will be arranging all your ground transportation.
Transportation. I can't spit that out.
Yeah, transportation.
Ground transportation.
Yeah, so we need you to get your own flight, but then, from there, we would be organizing your ground transportation with someone I've used so many times that I really trust to bring you to the home. And that takes about an hour and a half to get there. And then once you're there, you won't leave the town. That's the plan anyway.
That's so cool. Is it like a gated community? Or I've just been curious about what this is like once you get there.
It's not a gated community, so it's a very much like a little, for anyone who's local, I call it the Roachport of Mexico because it's such this like adorable, quaint, really, really cool community where it's kind of been grown up around like sea turtles as being a big part of their, tourist attraction. It's not touristy at all, which is why I think it's like a hidden gem, where Tulum is still very, it has kind of a quaint feel to it because there are no like high rises and stuff, but so it doesn't feel very commercialized, but it's so busy.
Yeah.
There's so much traffic and so many people in Tulum that to me it feels a little bit overwhelming at this point. Whereas this is just so cool. And there's a restaurant there that we go to all the time, which I could see us being able to visit. Like there would be plenty of availability for people to like get out and do their own thing.
Yeah.
There's bicycles. There's a golf cart, which will be part of
fun.
Yeah. So you could,
So fun.
Yeah. I cannot imagine people feeling at all claustrophobic. So.
Yeah.
And that'll be something that'll be really important to us as like curating this experience for people. I think that we would always be open to someone saying like, I'm really looking for this. Can you help me find it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it's such a magical place and it's worth Googling. If you want to look up Akumal, I think I'm a huge Mexico fan. I think the people are so incredible there. It's like I said, I think a really artistic, energetic, this is a very special, energetic place in the world too. I think where just like ideas flow.
Yeah.
And, it's just very special.
I believe that. I mean, the ocean, being near the beach in general, for me personally, is like where I feel the most at ease.
Yeah.
And it's weird that I picked Missouri to live.
Yeah, exactly.
That my soul was like, I'll live in Columbia, Missouri, not near any oceans. But I mean, that's definitely like the place where I'm like, and salt water is so healing and fresh air. And we talked about sunshine. And there really is something about just connecting with the elements that opens up that creativity.
Yeah.
And, if you think about nature, was made by the creator. And when you connect with it, that creative energy just flows.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful and get new perspectives. And it's just so fun.
All the images on the webpage that you see are from the home. So there's not like, none of that's like stock or anything.
Yeah.
So people, I think you can get a really good idea of like what it
actually looks like.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Well, I think the space is unique. I think the combination of like personal growth, inner work that we're going to offer along with like true business strategy.
Yeah. And like the restoration that comes from taking this time.
The mental health aspect of it.
Yeah.
And just the space to breathe and to figure out what's next. And I really think it's going to be unique and different. And I think I mentioned this in my newsletter that I've sent out. Like, I would be going to this retreat.
Yes.
If I wasn't a part of it, I would be going.
I agree.
Sure. I really would. And one of the things that I know before we wrap it up that I just thought of that I think is kind of neat about this, because I've heard so many clients lately be like, I am not really drinking that much anymore. I've really cut back on drinking. And whether that's, the people listening or not, I think it's neat that we're, this is going to be a boozy light experience. Yes. It's really like, we really are looking for restoration, and there will be options for drinks in the evening, but it's not going to be like a lay in the pool, lay in the pool all day with a glass of wine, which, listen, I'm down for sometimes still, I'm totally here for that. But it really is going to be about like allowing our body, our mind, and our spirit to relax. So that means pulling out toxins as well. Yeah. And it's not, like I said, like, I'm sure that I will have a glass of wine or two in the evenings, but it's not going to be like you said, a keg stand kind of, like, let's do shots during the day kind of event. And I think a lot of people are craving that right now.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think if you're for me personally, if I'm investing in something like that, you want to know, like,
what's the vibe?
Yeah, what's the vibe? Is it like a Girls Gone Wild thing? And I show up and be like, okay, this was, what was, this doesn't feel like a business expense.
Breathwork and Girls Gone Wild.
Yeah. Throwback. Are they even still around? I don't think so. But I think that's like, I definitely think we all want that type of experience here, which is people are really present. It's hard to be present when you're hungover. Right. Basically, that's what it comes down to. Yeah. I think that's what we would just want. We wouldn't want anyone feeling hungover.
Yeah. Right.
And I think like that, it impacts you more and more as you get older.
Definitely.
And it doesn't take that much to feel hungover.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't take much at all. And it takes away from your creativity. Yeah. And that innovation too. So. And
you're like, the way that you access empathy and even for me, my intelligence. I feel like my intelligence is so impacted by, being hungover.
Yeah, I turn into a real dum-dum when I have too many glasses of wine.
So we don't want anyone feeling like that. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we would be really, I would just say, intentionally curating your alcohol experience.
Right, right.
So...
and certainly not to say that if you do want to drink that anyone will be looking down on that. Like I said, I'm sure that I will have a drink or two in the evenings, some evening.
Right.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that to mind, because I think that there are a lot of people craving that experience right now, like maybe where they haven't before.
Yeah, I think that's so true.
Yeah. So. And I think overall the vibe that I'm getting from people is that it feels like we're kind of emerging out of, the last few years, there's been some darkness and some struggle. I know that we've talked about that, and so many business owners, like a lot of businesses didn't survive the last few years. And if they did survive, it was very much a like tooth and nail kind of like, white knuckling it through. And I think people are finally getting back to a place where they can kind of emerge out of that darkness and out of that fight or flight, like
totally
stress of the last few years. And I think people are really looking for a reboot. So we are happy to offer that.
Exactly.
Through the wild expansion.
I feel like we can close by just saying, like, if you have questions, if you want to talk it through, we would love for people to reach out to us.
Absolutely.
So they can reach out to us on social media, either at I'm K to the G to the B on Instagram. You're Kelly Howe Coaching.
I've never heard you say that out loud. It's the cutest Instagram handle.
It's a little bit long now. Or Who Design Company too, obviously. And then we will share this webpage. But I would just say don't hesitate. Don't pass up the opportunity to invest in yourself.
Absolutely. I just realized too, we talked about Jessie. We did not ever talk about Liz. Owner of Poppy.
Liz Tucker, owner of Poppy and Marigold in Texas. She will be there as well. And we know Beth is coming as well. Beth Snyder, who owns Hemlock in Court Street Fulfillment, will be there, but she's just not a host. So
yeah, gotcha. I just want to make sure we threw Liz's name in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just such a lovely human to be around.
Yeah.
It's going to be such a great, I think, chemistry between the four of us.
Totally.
And I'm really
and we forgot to mention the photographer.
Oh, yeah. I was getting ready. Yeah. We should definitely talk about that because I think that is so fun.
I'm so glad you guys kind of pushed for that. So we are bringing a photographer, a professional photographer who will be capturing the whole event. And then all of those images will be available to everybody to use for their own marketing purposes.
Yeah, including headshots.
Yeah.
If you want to have headshots done while you're there, we're carving out time for that. And that's definitely an option. And I think I'll be getting some new ones while I'm there for sure.
Well, it's just so cool to think about being able to use this for social media or for your own website, because that's usually such a huge investment.
Oh my gosh, for sure. And to have a tribe of people around you too to give ideas on
we could even stage a shoot.
Oh, 100%. I'm definitely going to be staging some group shoots.
Yeah. with you teaching, doing some tapping and us listening
in that house. I can't wait to have those pictures. Yeah. And then also with the photographer, if you have a product, right? We talked about that. If people wanted to bring a product that they wanted to have photographed for the website.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think
well.
She's happy to do whatever we're wanting her to do while she's there, taking in the experience as well. She's also a business owner, so we'll be learning from her too.
Well, thanks for being on, Kristen. I'm so looking forward to this. And anybody who wants to reach out, let us know. Kelly How Coaching and K to the B to the G.
K to the G to the B.
I got it backwards.
But yeah, you'll find it.
Kristen Brown.
There's probably not that many of those in the U.S.
Oh gosh, there's probably 9,000 of you guys. All right, well, let us know if you have questions. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.